As always, thank you very much, Deep Voice Guy. Holy crap, the faction is back, fresh off the National. I'm exhausted still. I'm sitting here with Cousin Tony, Cousin Oz, back from Rosemont, back from Chicago. Tony, are you recovered yet?
I am, but I want to go back. Like it was fun. I was like,
Go back and get some more of that steak I heard Oz was eating up the whole time.
Ooh, yo, that
yeah,
steak was banging, bro. Like Tony said, he anti A1. We didn't need any A1 in Chicago. Sometimes when down here in Reading, Pennsylvania, I use a little bit of the A1. Not gonna front, but yeah, over there, man, steak was banging. The cars was off the hook. We'll get into it about the trade nights and everything. I mean, to me, that was chef's kiss. Couldn't ask for more.
So I heard you guys in your recap episode talking about all the different places you ate. What was the best thing you ate when you were out there?
ooh,
Hmm.
that's a good one. It has to be the steak that we ate at.
Where though? Apparently you had it everywhere you went.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was. I know. Anyways, oh crap, what was the name of the Gibson's?
Gibson's.
Gibson's. That was the place right across the street, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I tell you what, a close second for me was I don't know where Rob got that deep dish pizza the night of our trade night where he brought the 40 pounds of pizza. It's like, dude, got $100 worth of pizza coming. It's about 40 pounds. We're gonna get it in. He was like a Hulk Hogan. I was like, all right, let's do it. And it was banging. He had the margarita, but he had the meat lovers, which was pretty amazing. Had 2 slices and I was done. Food coma.
Yeah, that I mean, at that time of night, that probably could have been Domino's. It would have been hitting, but the fact that it was decent pizza, it was good. I mean, you're talking about eating dinner at 11:30 at night, so it was at that point the box was gonna be good enough. But,
Yeah, just start eating the cardboard.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. I talked about this in my episode, but I mean, we all hear it a million times, right? How the Chicago deep dish pizza, you gotta have it. You gotta have it. It's just like the cheesesteaks in Philly, or
Mhm.
a burrito out in L.A., whatever it is. It didn't disappoint, man. I got to have my first legitimate deep dish Chicago pizza. I went with the meat lovers, and that thing was banging. It was phenomenal. Giordano's is the place I went. I guess that's
Okay.
one of the more popular places. Yeah, there was like
Gotcha.
20 of them everywhere. It seemed like we went,
Yeah.
but it did not disappoint. That was oh, it's hard to even finish one of those slices.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Before we get into the thing, I wanted to ask you though. You went on a little rendezvous, a date with the wifey. How was that spot, man? We were like 80 floors up or something like that.
Yeah, so that was called the Signature Room on 95th, I think it was. It was 63 floors up. Phenomenal views. I mean, we didn't get a window seat unfortunately, but we were still the next like table over. So to our left was just nothing but the lake, which looks like an ocean. I've never even really seen it with my own eyes, except maybe flying over it. But here, sitting at the table, looking out over, it just went on forever. And then, I guess in front of me, behind my brother and my nephew, was views of the city, and it was unbelievable. I highly recommend it. It's not cheap, and one thing that did frustrate me though, they made it very clear when you make the reservation that they had a dress code. Guys got to wear a collared shirt. You can't have ripped or torn jeans, and no athletic shoes. Meanwhile, women can't wear anything too revealing. So whatever all that really means, great. So my brother, the ever brilliant mind that he is, forgot shoes for both him and my nephew. So my wife, while we were doing national stuff, had to run out and buy dress shoes for the two of them to wear what was going to be appropriate. So we're sitting down, we're having our dinner, everything's going great, and little by little, I'm noticing people come in like, those are Jordans. Those are flip flops. That girl's jeans are ripped to all hell. What is happening here? Like this, nobody cares. Like I don't care, except my wife was running all around Rosemont trying to get shoes for everybody. So I don't know. I guess they don't really stick to that too much, and we were the suckers that bought into it.
Yeah, that's the worst when you go out of your way to try to stick to the rules and then you look around and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
That's actually a perfect segue. We might as well get right into the first topic because, listen, we both did our recaps. So everybody who's heard our shows at all already is well aware that the three of us, you two with your Wolfpack hobby hangout, was a phenomenal trade night you put together. I was a part of a group that put together the main event, a wrestling trade night. Both of us had our events on Friday nights. We got to each go check each other's things out. And it's easy to say right now, it was probably the highlight of all of our nationals. It was phenomenal. I can't believe everything went as smooth as it did for us. And I'm so proud of how awesome your guys' night went. But let's talk a little bit about it. I mean, let's just I don't know, man. What was everything like? Oz, you guys got through it. You guys went to like I think yours is still going. Is that right?
It feels that way, man. That was unbelievable. Um, it all goes back to the last national. Cousin Tony and I were just going ahead and we're thinking, man, we were on stage at this national. What are we gonna do to top that? And then I see, gleam in Tony's eyes. He's like, yeah, man, I wanna do something big. I'm like what? He's like, I don't know, maybe like host a trade night. I was like, nah, Card Collector 2 got that on lock. What are you gonna do? He's like, I don't know, but we got to do something. But something like that. I'm thinking about, maybe doing a trade night. So I was like, all right. So we were trying to figure out exactly how we were going to do it. Didn't know how, and then it just everything kind of fell into place once we got with the Wolf Pack, and you were involved in the beginning and trying to get everything coordinated with the hotels was a big to do, and finally that went through. And then of course all the behind the scenes, making sure all the details. Tony was taking care of that. We're shooting DMs between us and Rob and Big Ken. So it was pretty cool. And then you still, you get to the national, you're there, but you still have no idea how it's going to go down. So you're there Thursday, you're trying to look at cards, you're trying to get a lay of the land, but behind your all your thoughts, you're thinking, damn, tomorrow 6 to 9, how's it going to go down? So you're a little nervous. So we get there, Tony, on Friday night. We're like, all right, so we leave the national early, we get over to the spot, and then we're looking like, damn, this is going to be a little bit difficult for people to find. So that was my first thing that was on the back of my mind, was like, this is downstairs around the corner, make 2 lefts, make a right, do a spin, and then go into the room. So I was like, man, this is going to be a little bit difficult, but everything worked out as far as that aspect. But the way it just went down smooth, the people started arriving early. Shane, you came, and like within minutes, bang, it's packed. It's shoulder to shoulder. People are having fun. There's the cash bar outside. People having drinks. Moms are showing up. Kids are showing up. Dads are showing up buying pizzas for their kid that's having a birthday party, which turned into cupcakes. But man, it was a smashing success. And then it's like, all right, we're good. Now it's like me and Tony are like, all right, let's go sneak over to Shane's and see what that's about. We got to check out the main event. You know what I mean? We're good. We got to go see what's going on with Shane. And then we walked into that. I was like, my God, what we got going on here? You had the people at the front door. They're giving away tickets for raffles. You walk in, you see all the big boys in wrestling. I'm like, okay. See Mr. Drake, GC ended up showing up, the great curator, and all the big boys of wrestling collecting, especially my man, Big Shane Stud right here. The cards were flowing, and man, it was a beautiful thing, man. So that was my as far as my experience. I had a smashing time, so I really couldn't ask for more. Like I said earlier, Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it all. The main thing that stuck out to me was the vibe of both trade nights. We kind of had like a party atmosphere going. Then you go over to Shane's, and yeah, they're having a great time, but you could see the community was tight though.
Yeah.
Like you see the way the dudes, like they were talking, stuff like that. Like, yeah, like a lot of guys were showcasing their stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember Shane saying, yo, look, Drake's PC's here. That guy's a walking museum. He probably wasn't transacting.
I don't think he made
it.
I don't think he made a single thing. He just laid all his stuff out, and we're all just staring at it going,
yeah. I mean, does he have to? I mean, he pretty much has every goddamn thing.
Right. But, that I know that the Thursday official trade night gets all the hype and stuff. And that is a big trade night, and rightfully so. I mean, Ryan's built that from nothing into the monster it is today. So, I mean, hats off to him for that. But that's not the vibe that was at our things. And I felt that both were a smashing success. I was thrilled to be a part of it. I was like, we got to get over to Shane's, because we could have easily got caught up and stayed with, because there was a lot of people coming in and out. I was like, nah, man, we got to go show our guys some love. And, hell, we might have even had a chance at winning a raffle. But
yeah, it's close. One number off.
For sure. Shane, I do have a question for you, but I'll get to that in a minute. But just, your thoughts on the whole thing, both.
I mean, you guys just nailed it. The vibe for both events was just off the charts, man. It was really dope of you guys to be able to come over and say hello. I am so thrilled I got to be in your guys right at the beginning too. I mentioned this on my pod, but I got in there with my wife and my nephew. My brother was bailing on that because he was, you can't keep up. But we got there right at the beginning, and I thought even like a couple minutes late, so I was a little worried. But I got in and was like, okay, it's a little busy, but good. There's a couple seats. We get down and get my big dumb case down and kind of get comfortable. I look up and go, holy crap, it's already filled up. I look down, I'm talking to my nephew, I look like, there's more people in here. It's like, okay, let me figure out how to go buy a drink from the cash bar, grab some cash real quick. I go do that, come back in. It's like, I can't even, it's standing room only all of a sudden. Like, this is insane how packed it got. And yeah, the DJ was rocking. It really just had a phenomenal hangout vibe. The way calling it the hobby hangout was just genius because that's exactly what it was. It was a bunch of awesome people saying hi, yes, absolutely transacting, making trades. I mean, there was a lot of hustling going on in there, including my 11-year-old nephew. And I mentioned this on my other episode as well, but the best part about it for me, well, I mean, yeah, I got to see you guys, I got to see Rob, I got to meet Erica, love what you collect, I get to meet so many people, but as it was time to get going to head over to the main event, my nephew looking up to me, runs up to me and goes, Shane, I just made the best trade ever. Legitimately just like spilling with enthusiasm and excitement. Yeah. What the hell else do you want out of a trade night other than getting a little kid excited and like cementing the future of what that might turn out to be? I mean, who knows? That kid might be hosting his own trade night at 2024, which is just so rad to see.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for putting that together. Thank you guys for doing that just for that moment alone, seeing my nephew just light up like a Christmas tree. And then, yeah, at our show, I mean, it really, not only Drake, it was awesome that the curator, he double dipped. He was at your guys' place for the first couple hours, then he popped over to our place. Another gentleman who's more anonymous, but he showed up with every Prism 1 of 1 from 2022, which was insane, including the Bret Hart piece I finally got to see. Nice. I mean, it was wild seeing the monster pieces at that show. I don't know if we're going to be able to get everybody every year, but it was such a big success. We're doing this already. We're planning for 2024 already. We're ready to go for Cleveland. We've heard back from Al Durso, the president of the national committee. He was happy with the way everything turned out. He says we're pre-approved for 2024, even though there is some committee changes going on. It looks like we're all ready to go. Obviously, we've got a long time to plan it and figure it out, but Cleveland seems like it's going to happen, which is totally awesome.
That's sweet. Now there was a little bit of miscommunication leading up to that. I mean, the DMs were on fire. My man Shane was. I thought it was the NFC Championship all over again. But just talk about that. Pull the curtain back a little bit because I know people like to hear that stuff, man.
Yeah,
so it's not always all glitz and glamour.
It is not. So yes, all right. Let's talk about it. I haven't really publicly talked about this stuff too much, and I'm even going to censor my thoughts a little bit here, but mostly because with the show coming up before the national, there was a lot of news breaking, which I'll get into in a second. But with our show coming up, I was going to do nothing to risk that at all, even though a lot of this confusion or backtracking or lies, I don't know what it was, but essentially, let's just backtrack to, 6-7 months ago. The three of us with the Wolf Pack, with everybody else included, started to try to figure out the hobby hangout, right? Backtrack even before that. Last August, I had already started doing homework for what was eventually going to be the main event, what was going to be some sort of a wrestling event. So I had already been doing all this work for a year, basically, at this point, but since last August. And when we started talking about the hobby hangout, I was like, well, I've already reached out to a bunch of hotels and whatever. We got word ourselves. This is not hearsay. So whatever the F card porn is talking about with one of their posts, which I'm going to talk about, is just not true. Because this isn't hearsay. This isn't hobby influencers trying to make things up or go off rumors. We were told we were not allowed to host a trade night at a hotel that was affiliated with the National. We were told that directly. Rob at one point was getting these rejections, was feeling discouraged. We were all talking as the group, and eventually we were able to push through. Eventually, through some of the work they had done for the wrestling event previously, I was able to make things happen with the Crown Plaza through a phenomenal woman who's probably never going to hear this, but Conchetta was amazing. She helped get the room, whatever. We were able to progress with that. Now, After the hobby hangout was kind of situated, I start working back on the wrestling thing, and I get linked up with this group, and sure enough, they run into the same exact problem. And I tell them, like, yes, we were told the same thing. We're not allowed to do a trade night. So with the other guys, with the Wolfpack, what we did was we found a hotel that was not affiliated. If you'd like, I can do the same thing. Started going down that avenue. Long story short, too late. We were told that we can do our event, but with certain rules. One of those rules was it cannot be a trade night. Okay, that's why it was called the main event. That's why we promoted this thing as a wrestling event. And we were told that it had to be invite only. Okay, so we set up an email address. We told everybody, Chicago Main Event 2023, if you want to come, just email that. Basically, if you wanted to go, you were getting in the room, it was fine. But this was our way to, okay, we're going to do the invite only, so you got it in, we're going to get you on the list. We had other rules as well. We can't have the bar. I forget some of the various other things that we had. None of those were really that big of a deal. But now, I think it was a week before the National, Sports Cards Nonsense comes out with an episode talking about how the National was shutting down trade nights. I heard this episode. I sent it to you guys. I sent it to Rob. I was like, this is incredible. I am thrilled that somebody's talking about this because we all know firsthand that this is accurate, that we were told we can't have trade nights. And the only reason our event is being approved is because we had to follow all these rules. Whatever. Right after their episode dropped, I reached out to Jesse on the show, Jesse Gibson, because I had sold him a card in the past. I wanted to reach out and just say, hey, I really appreciate this episode. I am so happy that someone of your size is talking about this because it is frustrating. We're trying to do our event. We had all these rules, whatever. The next day he gets back to me. He was able to basically confirm a bunch of the people that I was working with. You know, I mean, to be honest, there's no reason for him to just believe somebody, a nobody who's reaching out to him, you know, frustrated about the national committee stuff. But he comes back to me. He kind of confirmed it. He had a conversation with Al Durso. Al told him, I guess, unprompted, he brought up our group as an example of saying, no, look, we're allowing trade nights. And I guess Jesse, after hearing that, said, well, what about like the invite only? He said, no, we never said it had to be invite only. We haven't said that to anybody. So now listen, I'm not saying somebody's lying. That's how I feel. But there's either backtracking, miscommunication somewhere, or outright lies. Whatever it might be, I don't know. But it was really hard for me. I was so frustrated because I knew all of the work and all the hoops we had to jump through, all of us, to try to get our events to happen. Now, you guys ended up doing your own thing. You said, we're going to do things our way, which was awesome, and it turned out just phenomenal. We followed the way we were asked to do it, and it still turned out great. So in the end, it is what it is, and we're pre-approved, unless maybe this episode gets the wrong ears. I have no idea. But you know, in the end, it all worked out. But I was very frustrated leading up to that because, not to monopolize this entire thing, but right after that episode came out too, the Sports Cards Nonsense episode, Card Porn releases a thing, a little Instagram or Twitter meme, whatever the hell it was, saying there's rumors that the National was shutting down trade nights. We talked to the head honchos, and it's not true. Do not believe whatever influencers have to tell you. And of course, there's comments. People saying, yeah, all the clickbait and, you know, basically taking crap on influencers or whatever. And I reached out to Card Porn. I DM'd them. I said, this isn't accurate. I was told directly that we couldn't do this unless we followed certain rules. This is a lie. Somebody's lying or backtracking or really miscommunicating. Now, Card Porn never, they did respond back. They said, you know, like, oh, yeah, I think they might be backtracking. It's okay, great. Well, go fix your post where you're lying, where you're not telling the truth. Why are you leaving that up?
He was too busy backtracking to fix the post. He's like, yeah, I'm backtracking. I can't fix my post.
Yeah.
Let's ignore what's going on around.
Yeah, I guess. And then they ended up like the next day having another post where they were promoting all the trade nights, which was great. You guys got promoted on there, which is phenomenal because they're a big platform. It's great to see them helping get the word out. Now, I guess Sports Cards Nonsense was able to meet whoever the cardboard person is, and I don't know, maybe because they had some conversations to figure that out. I mean, again, I'm small fry. I don't really know anything about the size of both their platforms, but I was really frustrated leading up to the event. in the end, it all worked out. So my frustrations were for naught. But it does make me wonder about 2024 and like what the best, moves going forward are going to be for us and how we want to attack this. And this is stuff we're going to have a year to figure out. And I know no matter what, it will be great. But yeah, I was frustrated. Sports Cars Nonsense was right. We were being told we were shut down. We were given rules we had to follow. We did it. Everything worked out. And I'm not some influencer. I mean, I 200 people are going to listen to this. This is what happened.
Right. Yeah. Dude, it was. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you finally got to get that all out because the DMs were on fire. But I mean, in the end, like you said, man, everybody had a great time, and you guys' event went off without a hitch. I mean,
it did.
Looks even the dude, that custom belt you guys had was awesome.
Oh yeah. Let me just give a quick shout out to my sister-in-law, Stephanie, at sugarfox_art. She's got like 35,000 followers or something. She's blown up in her own right. The fact that she made that for me, I'm gonna keep this story as short as possible, and mostly because some of this actually I can't talk about yet. But she made that championship belt for us. She made a WWE Undisputed Championship out of garbage. That's what she does. She's a trash sculptor. She uses action figures, whatever garbage, plastic, bottle caps, whatever, and makes awesome things out of it. She was asked to make a championship belt for a celebrity. Again, I can't really get into it too much, but it was so funny because when I asked her to make it, I said, listen, I know you're going to hate this because it's not what you do, but if you have the time and you're willing to do it for me, that would be great. And she did. And then sure enough, like a week later, she got asked about the same exact thing. And she was like, listen, I'm doing that for my brother-in-law, but that's kind of it. Like, that's not what I do. So huge thank you to Stephanie for doing that. The person who won it was perfect because A, he was somebody who appreciated custom art. He's like, I already got a spot picked out for it. And B, he was local. I had to fly that thing from Connecticut to Rosemont in my suitcase, bubble wrapped it. It was like, whoever wins this, I don't know how they're going to get it home. Thankfully, it was someone local who just put it in his car and drove it home. It was great.
That's awesome. That is great, dude. So again, just happy that everything worked out well for everyone involved. And, let's hope that 2024 is a little less hoops to jump through and a lot more fun for you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of 2024, you had some 2024 questions, topics you wanted to cover, man. What do you got?
All right, so I wanted a quick just check on our, we all have our main PCs. So obviously you, Shane, you have Bret Hart. Obviously everybody knows that. For my man Tony over here, it's Roberto Clemente. For me, it's Iverson and a million other things, but we won't get into that. But if we were to start from scratch right now, who would you want to have like as a side PC, different from anyone you've already collected? So something brand new. So Tony, I'm gonna go with you first. Who would you start as a PC, side PC?
Got it. You threw me for a loop here, you little rascal.
Well, they go with number 2 first, so it's all good.
Anyways, all good. I'm actually going to. I want to start building some of those '90s insert sets, and the first one I do want to go after is the Scoring Kings.
Nice.
I was looking at some of those leading up to the National. Didn't pull the trigger on any of them because I want to finish what I'm doing right now. But yeah, that Scoring Kings is going to be number 1. And then I think from there, and then I'll try to build, obviously within reason. But yeah, because that's the stuff I want to get into. Now, where you dive into those fractors, refractors, super fractor, triple fractor, that gets a little wacky. So I figured, let me just start off slow. Look, there's a checklist of insert sets. I'd be able to build those, the ones that are base or whatever you call it. And I think then maybe I can evolve from there. But yeah, that's going to be for sure the Scoring Kings one because I think it's dope. I almost bought that. I'm glad I didn't. I would have been so underwater. Oh, lordy. I had I wanted that Jordan Scoring King so bad. When I got back, they were so expensive. And I never got into it as far as bidding wars or anything like that. But I'm glad I didn't because, patience is definitely going to pay off. So long story short, it's going to be some 90s insert sets to start and then kind of see where we go from there.
Nice. Shane?
All right. So this is a tough one because when you throw in the caveat, if it can't be something that we've ever collected before, something we haven't, that's, man, I've dabbled in so much stuff. But the first thing that comes to mind is I always regret that I don't have more 49ers stuff like Jerry Rice, but I've had Jerry Rice's rookie card or Joe Montana stuff. I haven't had any of that yet, so I kind of want to go there. But I guess to be, I don't know, a little more off the wall and still being genuine, I got to be honest. When I think I saw it first when I went to your trade night when the curator was set up, but then he came over to ours as well, and I saw it as well. But he had a pretty rad thing that I don't know if I like where this PC would go, but I really dug his Taylor Swift signed. I don't know, it was like a 5x10 maybe or whatever with I think her from the Fearless cover. It would be kind of cool. I'm a big Swiftie. I make no qualms about it. I got every one of these vinyls that comes out. I buy them. I'm a huge Swiftie. I don't know. She's got like a rookie card, which would be really radical to try to get. I guess it was something that she like had hand signed and was like giving away to people randomly in streets to try to promote her first album. I think Curator either has or had one of them too. That would be pretty awesome to get somehow to get my hands on. That'd be pretty cool. So I don't know. I guess that's something I've never collected before. That might be fun to get into.
Nice.
Okay.
So
Fun,
you're a Swiftie. I like that.
Before Oz answers, fun fact: Taylor Swift is from Reading, Pennsylvania. So
Oh, wow.
originally from West Reading, but
Still Reading.
still Reading. So
Yeah.
Close
A
enough.
little on the ritzy side, but it's all good.
you didn't cross the bridge over that me and Oz
Yeah.
were at. Like, yo,
It's not like we see Taylor coming back home anytime soon,
no.
Thanks, Taylor. But big time in Reading. I get you. So, me, I'm a basketball guy. Love basketball. So it's gonna have to be somebody with there. And I already kind of talked about it with doing Sixers greats, but it's gonna be tough because this guy, he's very expensive. But I do want to dabble, and it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some discipline. But Wilt Chamberlain, I really want to start getting into some stuff. That's some deep waters. Tony, you already got the rookie. That's obviously going to probably be, my starting point number one. But eventually, you always see his signature cards that go for like 15,000, 20,000, pipe dreams. But, I'm just putting it out into the ether, into the universe. You never know what could happen. I might just, sell my whole Iverson collection and get strictly into Chamberlain. Who knows? But, yeah, that's going to be my next once it's all said and done with the Iversons and the Freddy Krugers, it's Wilt Chamberlain.
Hey, did you guys see I never found anything that it was verified, but this was maybe a couple months ago that footage finally got found or whatever of his 100-point game.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
It was pretty. It was on Twitter.
So yeah, that's what I was saying. I think I saw, but I wasn't sure that was fake or not. I was like, is this real?
I could never verify it,
Yeah.
but I saw it and I was like, I mean, it looks like it's from then. It's pretty wild, watching him do the free
Yeah.
throws and everything. But it was. I don't know. I don't know if that was real or not. It feels like it should have been bigger news. Somebody out there. Too bad we don't have a chat. Somebody can like James Lumen, right? He's a big basketball guy. He
Yeah,
could have called me
right.
out and told me if that was true or
Yeah.
not. But that was pretty rad. But I'm a little disappointed. None of us chose the hentai cards that your boy Manny collects on your live. What's going on there?
Yeah, no, I don't. That talk about a steep learning curve.
Which is the good anime porn? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. And for those who
What are those rookie cards?
exactly for those who may or may not know what we're talking about, check out the latest Cousins Collectibles, the one that dropped right before this. We had Manny from Too Thick Podcast. Anytime he's around, we bug out, man. He's a fun guy.
That was
Mr.
something.
Demon Slayer himself.
Yeah. So, hey Oz, go back to back here, and then we can.
All right.
That way, but go ahead, brother.
All right. So my second question. So now that the National has wrapped up, fellas, and it's time to move forward in the hobby, I want you guys to go ahead and put your fortune teller hat on and tell the audience who you see, yourself being by next year's National, both as a collector and a content creator. So right before next year's National, where do you see your Saint? I'm going to go with you, Shane. Where do you see yourself, man?
I love this question. So I guess you know me, I'm long-winded, but coming out of this year's National, I came out of it feeling, I don't know, like a changed man or something. I don't even know how to put my
Inspired.
yeah, maybe inspired is the word. But I came out of the show. I'm super in love with my PC the way it is, the way that I've been collecting, um, how focused I've been. It's been great. But I started to get the itch a little bit to want to figure out what like Rob does and Carmine and kind of getting more in the thick of the hobby. I don't know, I don't mean to separate these things. We'll have this debate all the time, but true collectors and
Yeah.
not true collectors, whatever. So I don't mean it that way, but like trying to get more into like the nitty gritty of the hobby. So I got to set up with Rob, actually sports card therapist at Foxwoods. He invited me to come, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago to set up one at a booth. That was awesome. It was my first experience ever doing that. I've dabbled in the past with like trying to figure out breaking. I bought like a case of Topps Chrome 2 years ago, and over the course of a year, I was like breaking and selling boxes, and ended up like breaking even, which was pretty cool. A couple free boxes to show for it, and I enjoyed all that. I really truly did. So I don't know. Like as I was walking around the National, watching my nephew really hustle and constantly trading and trying to trade up, these things have started to put like a little bit of like a I don't know, it's getting like incepted, right? And the idea really started to gnaw away at me. When I got back, I've already been trying to figure out, is that even feasible for me? Is that something I can do? Is that something I really want to do? And I actually reached out to someone. I'm curious about possibly buying a case of wrestling to try to do a break with. It might be fun. I don't know. It also might be a way to finally make some money to help pay for the podcast and pay for these things. I have no interest in being backyard breaks or anything crazy or mama breaks. I think the biggest breaker of them all these days. But it might be fun to dabble and see if I can really dip my toes in there, and maybe, possibly, by this time next year, or I guess a month ago this year, whatever, the next national, I don't know. I have stuff that I'm there to just kind of try to sell and trade and help move up, as opposed to just like you guys saw how big my dumb case was just because I wanted to show off all my wrestling cards. It was mostly Bret Hart. I didn't want anybody to take that stuff from me. I ended up selling like a few things mostly to get money cash for my nephew, right? But it might be fun to try to, I don't know, see the other side of this hobby more than I have before, and we'll see what happens.
Nice. Appreciate that. Tony?
Yeah. That's, yeah, I mean, dude, you sparked like 30 things in my head while you're talking. By next year, I see that I'm done with this Clemente run finally. I think I only have like 5 more left. I really put a big dent on that. But I want to swing back to what you were saying, because like I admittedly struggle with buying stuff to trade and sell. I tried that on earlier before I really knew what I was doing. I think I would be a little more successful now. But like, so Oz and I spent a lot of time with Carmine and watching him do his thing, man. I'm like, damn, like I had the same thought too. I was like, maybe this is the way I got to go. I mean, because he was turning stuff that it's not trash, trust me. I mean, but it was stuff that he bought that wasn't it forever stuff into, he got the triple Magic and Doc triple auto, like, and it was all stuff he traded into it. He only put a little bit of cash.
He got like $10,000 worth of cards for like $900 cash, and the rest in trade.
Yeah. So like when you wrap your head around that, it's like, damn. And he's not, he's not doing anything out of this world that we can't do. But he puts in the time and he's hustling. It was great to see him do that. So watching him firsthand do that, like, damn, maybe. But then again, that little thing is like stuck in my, I don't want to get stuck with stuff. So it's like almost like you really got to hone in and buy the right stuff that people want to, purchase. But so that too is in the back of my head. Trust me, I left the national thinking, but damn, because I just save up and then I buy. I don't, I don't know. It's kind of like, I think when you do that, it's just getting that hobby fix. It's just the transaction that people like. I think Jeremy from the Too Thick podcast said one time, he's like, he referenced the way Oz and I collect, and he's like, that would be boring to me if I just save and just buy and just put it away and then I don't see it again. Like I need the action. So it's all good. But anyway, circling back is definitely finished that Clemente run. And as far as content goes, trying to from last national to this national, I think we kind of doubled our streams and our reach. So I'm looking to double it again. If in a year we can double, I mean, our numbers aren't spectacular, they're great, but they're steadily climbing. Something I'm hoping that from this national to the next one, Oz finally lands that multi-million-dollar sponsor, and he can quit delivering mail, and put that smiling face on YouTube every night.
There you
But
go.
so that's a big hope.
Pimp
But
me out, baby.
yeah, yeah. But yeah. So just hopefully growing the audience and our reach or whatever you want to call it, twofold. Nothing too crazy. Not 10x, just two. That's all.
I like it.
So
Like it. What about you, Shane?
I
As
like
far as
how
content,
I like how just 2xing would land that multi-million-dollar deal. The fact that
yeah, yeah,
that
right.
close, yeah. So as far as content creation for me, man, I haven't really thought about that too much. I I don't know if I have anything exciting for it. I mean, I'm just going to keep staying the course and plugging away. I would like to get more guests on my show. I think I struggle getting guests. You guys have been amazing with helping me, link me up with a couple of different people at different times. Um, so yeah, I'm really not sure. I'm not. I think I don't really see too much changing for me as a content creator. I I been trying to get this wrestling podcast going with my buddy, and that's we did our first episode, and then we haven't been able to get another one going with the live and trying to schedule everything. So I already feel like can barely keep up with what I do. But I think if I could improve anything, it would be just getting more guests, having more conversations with people, and people stop hearing me just vomit about my hobby experience all the time.
It's fun. I like your show.
Thank you. I
yeah, yeah,
appreciate you.
definitely keep it entertaining. And but it's always cool to hear other people's sorry stories and their journeys. Big Ken is one. I know he kind of like was talking about stuff, and then he said, you know what, let me tell it more so as me as a dealer. And then once he went to like just strictly, okay, this is I'm going to shows every week, and here's what happened, and I set up, and I did this, and I did that. His show kind of just like took off. I guess there's a ton of people out there that love that type of content, want to know exactly what it is to set up and make the deals, and what people are thinking at these shows. So, you want to try to find your niche when it comes to this content creation, because obviously, we don't get me wrong, we love to do it, but we want to see the fruits of our labor as well. We'd like to grow and, eventually maybe even make some money off of it would be nice. Then we could take that money and not have to use our own, to keep buying cards, and it would be a cool thing. So, what exactly Tony talked about, trying to double our audience, just keeping persistent, consistent with everything. Just staying the course, man. And, we got a lot of, what did I say, irons in the fire with Hobby Hotline and the Wolf Pack, and then of course the faction, and then our stuff. So we're definitely out there. I think people know who we are. So I just think it's a matter of the masses finding out. I don't know how that translates, but little by little, like Tony said, you can just definitely see the jump. The jump usually happens like a little bit before the national, and then right after, and then it kind of cools off, and then it like ramps back up. So we just got to try to stay consistent with those numbers. Now, as far as collections concerned, I kind of talked about it already with the Will Chamberlain, but just looking to expand on the Allen Iversons that I have. Kind of do similar to what I did this national, where ones that I've outgrown, look to sell them, either get them on eBay, put them on consignment, maybe with Joku or somebody like Probstein, or just do it myself. Just that's one thing, like for myself, just getting on eBay. I'm a great buyer. I'm an awesome buyer. I'm probably the best buyer out there. But when it comes to selling, I mean, I have no idea, no clue. I couldn't tell you how to set up a goddamn thing. And then it's even worse. Like, I'm a mailman, but for me to wrap something up and send it away, it's like, oh no, so I just deliver it. Yes, I got to kind of get out of that. It's one of those things. It's just all in your mind. So once you do it the first time, you're, this ain't that bad. So once I can get past that hurdle and figuring it out, trying to get rid of some of the lower end things, that way I can move up to some of these big boys. That would be pretty cool. So by the time next national hits, I don't only have the Dunkin' Donuts, bangers. I have some other cornerstones that I was looking to. Tony, you remember the Essential Credentials we were looking at? So a ton of them, Allen Iverson, that's a big card, the 97, 98 Essential Credentials. And it came right around the time when the national started. It was on a freaking auction. I was like, damn. So I'm thinking in my mind, do I want to take the money I have now and just wait and just put it all towards that auction? but to buy it nows we're looking anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. So the like right around when the auction started, when we were at the National, it was about 2,400 right off the bat. So I'm like thinking in my head, man, this is gonna go crazy, once the fireworks hit at the end of the week. But it sold for 4,000, which I mean is
Wow.
still expensive, but it wasn't anywhere near the 10, and it was a PSA 9. So it was a higher graded one. I was like, damn. So I kind of kicked myself in the ass thinking I could have, if I would have been patient. But you're at the National, you're seeing cards, Tony's offering up a Dunkin' Go Nuts that's Gem Mint 10. You got to make that deal. So, but those are the things that it'd be easier to go ahead and pull the trigger on those types of things if you got, the ability to sell cards or trade like, Carmine and Big Papa Ken and the other fellas like Rob do. So, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Let me ask you though, as a collector, Oz, your interactions at live shows. I know that I see that there's a little trepidation in the people's mail, man.
Yeah.
And I know that comes from you, being a shy ass punk.
I'm a shy guy.
But yeah, no, what do you think I mean, obviously that's just interaction with people. I mean, I see you interact with people. You can, it's not like you like hide under a rock. But
yeah.
Like, how do you think you're gonna be able to get a little, because you know what you're talking about as far as the cards go, but what is it that just kind of that little hurdle there?
It's just always in the back of my mind. It has nothing to do with cards. It's just the lack of confidence, just the ability to say, I'm worthy of being here, whether it's being a collector, whether it's being, talking on the mic or whatever it is. So like you said, once you're passionate about a subject, especially something like with cards, I'm learning every day, but the cards that I have, I pretty much know what I'm talking about. Then it goes to, then I got to rack in my brain. Do people really like Allen Iverson? Do they want to trade with me? Are my cards good enough? I really love that card I have, but they're going to want 3 of my crappy cards for that one awesome card, and then you see Carmine throwing, 5 Larry Birds and coming back with a freaking, 101 on card auto, logo man, whatever the hell. And you're like, well, damn, how the hell do you do all that? So it's just, you kind of got to see it, and then once you see it, you got to go ahead and execute it. And once you do it a couple times, I kind of did it here and there. But just being more consistent with it, I think is the case. Like if we set up all the time, because I did well when we set up at the shows. So I think if we were doing that more on a regular basis, I get that confidence. But just like, doing it every 6 months, or once a year at the National, that's not going to get me having, Mr. Confidence walking in the room, stopping at every table. Look what I got, sir.
I mean, the confidence too. What can be tough is when someone starts like negotiating with you, right? If you don't have the confidence to like really stand by your price and understand that you did the homework and you really do have a fair price, or maybe you don't. I don't know, but I was seeing that a lot with my nephew actually. Now he's just 11. He's just getting into this, but he bought. You guys saw it at one point. He bought a Jalen Hurts patch auto. That was a gorgeous patch. It had four colors in the patch. He got that. He traded into it and sowed some cash. Whatever. He was that was like the most popular card other kids were asking about, especially when it was in the kid area, and other adults as well. There's the most popular card people were asking about. Excuse me. But every single one of them was trying to get the price less than he paid for it. And I was watching him start like almost immediately, like, oh, okay, and like almost like getting talked down and like selling this at a pretty big loss without really, having a chance to even shop it around. And thankfully, the first couple of deals, I was there, kind of looking over his shoulder, and I was able to, somewhat convince him. Like, I don't think that's the best deal. I was like, listen, I'm not telling you what to do with anything you want. Here's my advice. And he backed out of the first couple of deals where that was happening. And I really had a chance to then pull him aside and say, listen, don't start with a lower price than you paid, at least at this point. Look how many people are asking about this card, right? So you got to get that confidence about like this card, the price you have is fair. And if people don't agree with it, that's fine. You don't need to sell right now. But that's a tricky thing, right? Trying to feel confident, because I know that I struggle with confidence and insecurity all the time. To me, everybody in that building knows more than me about everything, right? I walk in, it's like nobody cares that I'm here at all. So that is tough, man. That is something you really do have to try to build up through repetition. And it sounds like we could all benefit from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially with the way that the negotiations are in the hobby, like when you start talking cards, immediately the guy's telling you how crappy or how not special your card is, so that right away you're like, what the hell, like,
Yeah, I'm
sir,
gonna go
this is
ahead
a
and start this
PSA.
off by knocking off 30% off what you think it is worth.
Yeah, it's like, sir, this is a PSA 10 Jordan in my hand, and he's like, yeah, no, but and then it just knock you down, peg after peg after peg. So you
Yeah.
really got to. That's why as I said, Oz knows what he's talking about. It's just about building that confidence level and telling him
Yeah.
to take a hike. But anywho, so
Like I said,
but
it's just
yeah,
easy to go ahead and get on eBay and just press the buy it now button.
yeah,
All right, gentlemen. So obviously, we both are all three of us just experienced our second national, right? And I think now we've all hosted a trade night. We've all been on the main stage, which is wild to think. You guys got there in your first year. I got there in my second year. We're not veterans yet. People go to this thing every year for like 2 decades, but we've got some experience now. 2 years in doing the national, I think we're all on board with getting out there next year to Cleveland if things work out. But moving forward, Tony, what do you think, man? What have you learned so far? And if you could make any changes for the national to make it better, in your opinion, no matter how unrealistic what you think it might be or whatever,
yeah,
what changes would you make to the big show?
yeah. Two of them, and one of them it existed. I didn't realize it till I got home. I was digging through my little VIP bag, and the first thing that we had talked about on one of the shows. I don't, we're up to like show 38 in the last 7 days, but it was an interactive app telling me where things were, things going on, where dealers are, and I'd love to drop the guys' names, but they're not paying our bills. So, but there was two companies out there that I found out after the fact that do have that. So,
Wow. They're
yeah,
affiliated with the national?
they are not. I mean, no, they're not. No, they're just companies that like it'd be like Beckett. Like if they had an app, they had their own. But these guys have their own app, and so yeah, I was like, well, crap. I was like, well, that there's one problem solved. So I'll make sure to download it next time. But the major one that I'm just gonna keep banging that drum is segmenting the dealers. I need to have all the wrestling guys over here. I need to have all the soccer guys over there. In a hobby that kind of lends towards organization, OCD ish, having everything in order. The show floor is a complete cluster F, especially this year with the way it was so big and it just wasn't it, man. Um, I would just love to see that. And I know I've heard the argument like, well, then I wouldn't go to the other areas, but I know that if I'm looking for soccer and I'm there on Thursday and Friday, I'm gonna hit my soccer tables first, and then I'll go see what else is going. Because I mean, there's only so many tables. Like it's not like there's like 300 soccer tables or whatever it is. Like there's
There might
so
be. It's just they're all spread. You have no
that is
idea.
true. That is true. That is true. I take that back. But I would love to have the show segmented, be it in colors, like somehow the yellow side, whatever it is, man. I just think that it would be great for everyone involved, because I'm sure that there's guys that were buried in other sections. I'm sure if there was a I don't know, a pop culture guy for some reason or another was stuck in the middle of the vintage thing, people are just gonna walk right on by. Where if it's segmented, man, I really think that I know as a show attendee, it would be off the hook for me.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Totally agree with that. That would have been one of my things, just trying to make sure it's as organized as possible. One thing also is just the look of it. Coming into the 21st century, like you kind of walked into the Breakers Pavilion area and it just seemed like it was popping. There was yellow everywhere. The lights. I don't know, Tony. Am I wrong? Wasn't the lights brighter on the ceiling?
Yeah, that with the yellow too. It was bounces off
Yeah,
the.
it was just it
Yeah.
just looked like real lively. And then I always say, like, you went to the left and it's like that's where I guess we're all the vintage people that have been there forever and a day, and it just kind of got real gloomy. It was dark. It's all vintage, like walking back in time, and it's like the old school way of doing the collecting. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just the way it's always been. And you walk back through the Breakers Pavilion, nice and bright, and then you have like corporate area. But it would have been cool to like the corporate areas were all spread out. Everything was just like he said, a big mumbo jumbo mess. But to me, just having the venue altogether. Not a, you know, well, I'm not even going to mention the AC, but you know, the air conditioning was crazy. But you know, things like that. But making sure the lighting and everything is on point, and it's tough to do in a big venue like that. But you would think if they're constantly having shows that, you know, things like that would be taken care of. But you know, Tony kind of like grabbed everything that I was thinking of too. Was just making sure you to have the best experience. Another thing was like just how the booths were labeled and numbered. You know, you had the aisle number on top, but none of the booths had it. You know, they don't have their numbers on there, so it's kind of tough that you actually have to physically. Hey, what's the number to this table here?
Yeah, you got to have that. That's a good one.
Yep, that's a great one actually. Because last year, I'm 99% sure they had that, and this year I was very surprised. I did exactly what you said. I was like, I'm sorry, what booth are you? And then he told me, okay, and which way are the numbers going, up or down? Okay, great. Then I'll go that way to find the booth. I was like, thank you. Now I'm going to go find the person I'm looking for. Yeah, that's a great one, actually. It didn't even cross my mind, and I had that issue while I was there, so good call. Yeah, the segmentation of the selling, it was one of mine for sure. You know, I guess I don't know. I guess I get the argument about, you know, selling stuff, but I don't know. You could lay things out in clever ways to get people, you know, to really encourage them to see most tables. And you would have some crossover, right? You know, there's people who sell baseball, football, whatever. And so you pick what you are before you go, the one that you sell the most of. Like it doesn't need to be like down to a T. So you're still going to get some of that crossover. Right. You're going to get, you know, people going to the modern football section or whatever, however they would segment it, and still see other stuff. Like it's still going to happen. Very few people sell just one thing.
Right.
But man, it would make things so much better because even for me, obviously, again, everyone knows I'm a big wrestling card collector. It was awesome that the RBI Crew 7 table was right next to Curator and Merlin, because that was all great. This was a phenomenal little wrestling section, and I was bumping into a lot of people looking at wrestling cards. I started talking to people about cards they had. I started inviting people over to the main event because we were in the proper section. You know, anywhere else on that floor, it's you know, probably you'd have to flip a coin 6 times to find, you know, come up with the right heads to find another wrestling collector out there. But to know that you could find people in the right sections, it just makes all the sense in the world. And again, I guess if there's arguments about dealers and all those sorts of things, but you can't always cater the show for the dealers. You got to cater the show for the buyers. You got to make it better for us to want to go in there to drop our money. If I can't find wrestling cards because I have to walk however many square feet that was, and you know, getting through what they say, over 100,000 people walk through the doors, trying to fight through all them to get to every one of these booths with zero clue where to go, except for people
or you
that
bump into one of your buddies and they're like, "Oh, dude, I seen some wrestling."
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you. I think, you know, you're like, forget it.
Yeah, I saw it on Wednesday in the other room. Maybe, I don't know. All the days blend together. Yeah, 100%, man. That's so perfect. Yep. So yeah, dude, that segmentation, figuring out a better way for us to be able to take in the floor makes all the sense in the world. But the big one for me too, that one was definitely more important. But the big one that I want to add to that is they got to get the food better. Like you can't be like, I don't know, unless there's something I missed, and that's very possible with how busy I was and how big the place was. But the fact that there's not like a legitimate food lobby or like, you know, food court section that has actual good options, and I don't know. I don't know if it's even possible with these types of things with this size that they were, but there's just got to be better options. The second day that we were there on the Friday, I didn't want to eat the crappy pizza and hot dogs that they had. So we thought, okay, let's go walk someplace and get lunch. We tried to walk across the street to Gibson's. It was packed. We couldn't get in. Then we had to walk somewhere else. So I get that there's that many people, it's going to happen. But I wish that there was a better way to get food and drinks while you're walking around the floor. And I get that it's going to be overpriced no matter what. It'd be awesome if it was affordable, but just better options that just doesn't make you feel sick and doesn't make you feel like, well, the only reason I ate that is because I was miserable and desperate, and now I feel like crap. So great. So those are my 2 things.
Yeah, I mean, Tony and I kind of got lucky with that. We were 10 minutes away from the actual hotel itself, the convention center. So the area we were at, right directly across the street, you know, there was what was it? The
IHOP. IHOP,
the
there was
IHOP,
a
tons of
Target. It
restaurants,
was
and
like
then
a
the Target and the Walmart. So it's a big shopping center with anything and everything that you wanted, just right directly across the street. So we would just wake up, go there first. Don't even bother going to the convention center yet.
Yeah.
Get our grub on, and then go hit that. And then 9 times out of 10, we had something planned later on. So it kind of worked out that way. But yeah, that definitely makes sense. But
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough. When you have that many people, the vendors are like, what do you want us to do? Make gourmet meals? We got hot dogs, we got chicken nuggets and pizza. You
and
got
I
to
want
make
you
it
to
easy.
deliver it to me at booth 3,426, and you'll know right where it is because that's the modern wrestling section.
Nice.
I did see one guy who they actually had like barbecue. It was like it said ribs and tacos. I don't know how good they were, but I mean, but it was. But again, I don't know how good it was.
Yeah.
Before we get to this last one, Shane, I want to ask you, what's up with your rock?
Nothing. So at the show, I shopped it around a little bit, and I had some interest, but it's a higher. I don't know. Long story short, after talking to other people who have the card, I think the card is like pushing 20K. To be as transparent as I can about it. One of the other guys says he was offered that much and he didn't sell it. So if all the other sellers have that card, they're not. So I don't know. I think I'm the only person who's somewhat motivated to move it. I've had it on eBay at that price. I did send out an offer less, like really just to ask anybody if they're serious buyers, because I'd be open to moving it. And I've been pretty vocal to try to sway the guy who has the 1-of-1 Prism Black and the curator who's got the Superfractor, Brett, or I don't know, maybe to start funding whatever this new stupid idea I have about maybe breaking cases or something. I don't know. So I'm open to moving it, but it's, you guys, I have the green screen behind me, but it's behind me, right next to my Rock action figure, and it's awesome. I love that card. So it's going to sit until I get a price that I'm happy to sell it for, and we'll see.
Okay, fair enough. Damn, that's a monster.
I mean, maybe. Nobody's offered me that price, so it might not be, I don't know. But I definitely...
You asked for 20, you get 18.
Maybe, right. I don't know. I'm open to offers. Anybody who's listening to this, if you're interested in 2014 Topps Chrome Rock Gold PSA 10.
It's no Oscar the Grouch 101, but...
You ended up I heard you talking about the Oscar. You ended up getting it, huh?
Yeah, well, not the autograph. Like, I didn't know that the guy that actually... did the voice of Oscar the Grouch, he passed away back in 2019. So the one that we saw at the National was signed by him. So the guy was asking $500 for it. I didn't even we just looked at the price. I didn't even try to work it down because then I quick saw the Freddy Krueger one. I was like, "Ooh, I like that one better." And Tony's like, "No, you got to get Oscar the Grouch." I'm like, let me go with Freddy. So then as soon as we got back, then he pointed out like this was the only one on eBay that was PSA graded. So it's a Pop 9, none higher. So I'm happy with that, but it would have been cool to have the guy that actually did Oscar the Grouch sign it. So I don't know how many he signed that, but
other opportunities.
Yeah,
that's awesome. But all right, we gonna rip it and slab it or what?
Sure, let's get it. So let me ask you guys. One of my goals for the National was to get a bunch of corporate swag. That didn't really happen. I ended up with one T-shirt, and you know why? Halfway through the show, I'm like, oh, forget this crap, man. I'm like, I don't need a mug. I don't need a sticker. I don't need a coaster. Like, I gave up. So let me guys, corporate giveaways. Well, that was a gift from John.
Yeah.
But corporate giveaways, Shane, I'll start with you. Rip it or slab it?
All right. So I guess it's a little matter of perspective, too, where you're coming from about whether you'd rip it or slab it. But you know what? I would slab it. I get it. You're trying to get your name out there. You're trying to find ways that, if I want to ever be a somebody, more people need to know who I am. So I get the marketing plan of it. But it's got to be something useful. It does get old when people are just handing you, flyers or business cards and just junk, right? And that was one of my issues last year. I didn't do it this year. I didn't do the VIP stuff this year, but I did that last year. And you got so much just junk, right? It's like, cool, thanks for this bag that I'm putting right into the trash. Put something in there I actually am going to want. And it could be something as simple as a pen. How often do you need a pen and you're digging through and you end up keeping one that's got some corporate name on it? So you gotta at least be somewhat creative with it. Give me popcorn that's inside the popcorn's in a holder that's got your name on. I don't know. Get clever with it and I'll slab it.
All right, fair enough. Oz,
I slab it, bro. Come on, if it's free, it's for
this
me.
guy.
I'll take anything, bro. I'm
Should have
like
seen this
Mikey.
guy. He was scanning every QR code. He was scratching everything, and he was dude.
Hey,
If
I
he
had the
told him he
V.
had to
I had
do,
the V Friends experience. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Did the whole nine. That was fun.
freaking,
Yeah. So like, well, yeah, why not? When in Rome. There was a
yeah,
couple things in there. The thing I do like about the VIP bag is like every year they include. I forget the company, but they have a coin that comes in a
Yeah.
special bag. So I got the last year's coin and then this year's coin, and they actually had a booth set up somewhere where you can go and they had different like parallels that you can get and start a coin collection, which I thought was it's pretty interesting, pretty cool. Um, but other than that, I think I got to do a better job of maybe these apps that you're talking about, Tony, have say something at least about giveaways and things like that, because there's some booths that really give some good things away, not just T-shirts or you know what I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
stickers. They're like giving away cards or your opportunity to just to try to win something special. So I know the Tops booth I was at, they hand out tickets just similar to what you guys were doing at the main event, and then they go
Okay.
ahead and the guys like they're hyping it up and handing out packs and things like that. So it was pretty cool. So just knowing exactly, uh, like, geez, think about the guy that Manny told us on Wednesday they were giving out the spots for the break for the 86
Right.
Fleer that Allen Iverson was ripping from Michael Rubin. So they gave those away for free. You just had to get in
Yeah.
line for the Fanatics booth. And then the guy that ended up pulling the Jordan got $150,000 from Michael Rubin. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Can't beat that.
No, no.
Could you
Just
imagine?
jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like I said, I gave up. I got one T-shirt by accident. We were walking out of the show the one night. I was like, oh yeah, I'll take that. So,
Kentucky Road Show.
yeah. So shout out to them.
I walked
Next,
away with a Wolfpack T-shirt.
did you get one? Because I was like,
Did.
okay, good. Because I mean, by the time you showed up, the T-shirts were going. I'm like, geez.
Nah, they were there, but you guys got to get not large.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's just you, me, and Oz. I think are the only three people in the hobby under 6 foot.
Yeah, that's I think
So
100% right.
And Big Ken.
Yeah, and Big Ken. I put
Yeah.
out here. I'll pull the curtain back for you. So I have these T-shirts, right? We lug them across the street from the national. We had to cross 6-lane highway to get across the street. So I'm setting these things up, and there's like 3 mediums, 48 larges, 60 extra larges, 100 freaking
2X.
52X. I'm like, dude, what about us, man? I'm like, I thought this was an inclusive event, but
Dude, honestly, I had a similar experience. I had to go pick up our main event T-shirts. We had 2 mediums, everything else was large, so forth and so on. So I got one of the mediums. The other got given away, and all I had to even give my 11-year-old nephew was a large. Like, sorry, buddy. Here's I guess you could sleep in it.
Here's
He'll
your
grow
dress.
into it. Yes,
Yeah,
excuse
here's the
the-
dress.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I have to grow in.
Oh man.
So, all right, next one, and this is something I don't think I ever win with this. Paying over comps, rip it or slab it. Oz, I'll go with you first. Rip it. I'm not paying over comps or slab it. Yeah, I'm. If I want it bad enough, I'm gonna pay over comps.
I mean, that's dual-edged sword. Because if I do want it bad enough, which I kind of did pay over, well, it was a good deal. I was right at comps with the card that I got, the gold Allen Iverson Ultra Stars. But I'm gonna go ahead and say rip it. If the comps are what the comps are, so I'm cool with paying comps, and I'm even better paying under comps. But good luck with that when you're not a dealer or you're, an influencer. We're still not there yet. We just don't walk around and people come, laying cards at our feet at great prices. So yeah, definitely ripping it. I would love to stay at comps. I think that's a fair thing. If the dealer and I agree, okay, the last 3 sold at 2,500. I can do a deal for that. All right, cool, that's fair. But when it's 2,500 and the dealer's asking for 28 and not budging, just because you're at the national, rip it.
Okay. Shane.
Yeah, it's tricky, right? I mean, it depends. The context of the card matters. I mean,
Yeah.
is it how many of them exist? What's the pop count? I collect with the Bret Hart stuff. I'm at the point that I don't collect anything unless it's numbered to like 10 or less, or is at least a parallel I really want, or a super short print. So sometimes it's really hard to comp stuff legitimately anyway.
Yeah.
And listen, if nobody pays above comps, the price never moves up. You know, somebody's going to pay above comps at some point. I mean, so, or not, and then the price is going to come down. Like that's how the market works.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if we're talking a pretty available card, if we're which is what the National is just like full of, right? It's all young quarterbacks, that stuff that's getting traded left and right. Anyway, you got to use the comp system. I like kind of what you were just talking about, where you take the last 3, 5, however many comps, and you kind of average it out. And then you know, if the average is constantly a little bit higher, you're going to move up anyway. I think that's a natural way for it to happen. So if we're talking standard stuff, I mean, I guess I would rip it as well, but it's not a hard rip. You know, I get it. Markets are
Yeah.
living, breathing things that move up and down. And if I really want something that's, you know, and again, if there's only 10 Bret Hart Golds or whatever, and I've only seen 2 of them pop, and now a third one finally did, and it feels like my chances of getting this are running out. I'm just gonna go get the damn card if I have the money. So I'll rip it, but you know, I'll like that.
That caveat.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I think I find myself damn near always paying over comps. But whatever.
Setting the market.
Always buying
Yeah.
over and selling under, baby.
Yep. That's me. That's why I don't sell. They just sit there and just marinate in the case.
And then you look at Rob. Man, you should have seen the deal I got, bro. This
Yeah.
comp was 2,500. I got it for 500. Unbelievable. Love this card. Best one ever.
Oh man.
That's good stuff. No, yeah. I mean, listen. The thing is, like Rob, and I mean, he knows, you know, he'll do his thing though. I mean, he'll, like you said, he'll say, hey, this is what it is, and just because, you know, he'll always find that one outlier, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna pay that. Like you had with your was it the gold, where there was the one card that was an outlier,
Right.
compared
Yeah,
to all
because
the other
the
ones.
last comp was 2,500, and then the 4 previous were 1,500.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, wait
So
a
that
minute.
tells you, right? That tells you that's a $1,500 card that somebody got in a bidding war over,
Yeah.
or something, or was shilled or whatever.
Or
So
didn't do his homework.
yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? So last one, we're now in preseason football season, I guess you can call it. Do you guys, Shane? I'll go to you first. And Oz, you can't answer and say you're busy at work. Like, let's just say that you come home at 5 o'clock and you're able to. All right,
Okay,
let's
I'll
just,
lie. But
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Let's just put that preseason football, ripper or slap. You watch that stuff?
Man, I think our last episode we talked a little bit about all-star games and whatnot.
Mhm.
I might rip this almost as aggressively as I do an all-star game. I care probably a little bit less about an all-star game than I do a preseason game, but it's damn close. At least these games can mean something. We're starting to figure out, you know, how many yards is this guy going to do, or whatever, and how
Right.
many, you know, records is Brock Purdy going to break this year. You start to really get a sense for that in the first couple preseason games that he's going to play. So that's what I'm all about a little bit. Start to try to figure out too. It matters. I'm a big fantasy football nerd, so I got the big old draft coming up at the end of this month. So these help. Okay, who gets hurt, who doesn't? So I got to pay attention. I don't have to pay attention to an all-star game at all. Life won't change one bit, but the preseason games can have an effect on the rest of my sports viewing pleasure. But I'm not watching. I'm just reading about it later and getting all the analysis done. I rip it. No, thank you.
Gotcha. Oz?
Yeah, I would say if you asked me this question, probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when there would be at least 2 games that actually mattered. They would play a first half, and then, you know, the last game they'd play at least 3 quarters, and sometimes even the whole game, and you get to see your actual starters and how they're going on. Especially if you have a young new quarterback or a guy that's coming off injury, just to see how it goes, or that new running back if you're into fantasy, or the wide receiver, seeing how it's working with the QB. That way you can get a little sense of how it's going to be in the regular season. So now that's all out the window, bro. Nobody plays. You know what I mean? And if they play, it's vanilla offense, vanilla defense. You have no idea. It's nothing. It's just something out there for the owners to make a little bit of money, before, and then nobody wants to get hurt, so they're not going full bore. And then God forbid one of your guys gets hurt. You know, then they're really like back off. You know what I mean? If it's
Yeah,
like
right,
the first quarter,
right.
all right, we're gonna play 2 quarters, and we're gonna see what everybody has. And then on the first place, somebody gets hurt. Then it's like, all right, pull everybody out. Let's go.
And of course, right, if one of your guys gets hurt for a freaking preseason game, you can, my remote's going right through the television.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I don't need to
exactly.
watch
So
that.
it's like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
5 years ago, definitely would have slabbed it. Right now, it's a total rip. It's a waste of time. I say just go ahead and get the damn season started. Maybe play like one game and then just go ahead and go.
Yeah, whatever it takes for them to not feel like they're going to pull their hammies.
Yeah.
Go run sprints. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big rip for me. I hate it. And especially now, like I'll watch the first preseason. I'll start the game. I know I will because it's like, oh, it's exciting, it's shiny and new. Here comes the birds for the new season. Blah blah blah. I'll turn it on, but then 10 minutes, I'm like, this is stupid. But like clockwork, my father, who is neck and neck with Oz as far as the 2 biggest homers I know, without fail, he will call me the next day and tell me about some. I mean, this guy's the greatest thing. Did you see the kid that came in the 4th quarter with the last 5 minutes left? I'm like, who? The guy that was pouring water for everybody during the beginning of the game? He's like, yeah, this guy, he's great, man. I'm telling you, dude. I've had so many of those guys over the years, and every year, man, I'm like, Pop, this guy, he's not even gonna make the team. Like,
He gets cut.
Nah, listen, I'm telling you, this is the guy. I'm like, nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him. We got him. I'm like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
And then he's a big fan of the backup quarterback. He loves the backup quarterback. Like when Carson Wentz was starting, he was all about Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts was now starting, he's gonna be all about Mariota now. Like he's just always about the next guy. I'm like, well, what about this guy? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, geez. So yeah, no, it's a big rip. It's boring. And I just want to get to the real stuff. I'm with you, Shane. I mean, we play fantasy as well, and we have a good time with that. But yeah, it's just a waste of time. I think. Well, now it's down to 2 games, or is it that happened yet? Or well, I guess at some point it's happening. I forget. But
2, 3, who freaking knows?
it's 2 too many, 3 too many. So whatever. But so there you go, a unanimous rip on preseason football. So,
ladies and gentlemen, look at that. You didn't have to wait months for another episode of The Faction. We got this out pretty quick after the National. Oz gave us a little bit of now he's on his phone. First he blows us off the other day. But we got this episode in a good amount of time. I'm thrilled. Always love chatting with you boys. Tony, Oz, Cousins Collectibles. Check out their podcast. I'm Shane Norton, a.k.a. the Sports Car Nobody. This is The Faction. Everybody have a good night.
peace.